And welcome to the Coach's Corner, coming to you from the Sugar and Spice here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We're joined by Broome head football coach Lynn Fleming. Well, last Friday night is probably what we've all been waiting for. We finally got what I think what everybody was expecting in that ball game. That you got a complete game on offense, and man, you rolled up 628 yards. And had two wide open drop touchdown passes. If you catch those, you may have had over 700 total yards there.
Yeah, again, I feel like we're a lot closer in getting people in the right position. Again, it's the same guys that's playing offense is having to turn around and play defense. So, our guys did a good job of just staying focused. I'm real happy for them. I mean, it was a great game by them. Our offensive line played really well, and of course, I know we're going to talk about some of these other guys, but our offensive line just really stepped up, and just real pleased with how they're developing and how much better they're getting. So I'm real proud of how they played.
And that's one thing, too. Being a former offensive line coach was one of the many positions I coached there, too, that I appreciate what those guys go through.
Absolutely.
And Barry and I both made a point of pointing out what a good job they were doing on Friday night, though. And I'm going to mention another group, too, that you've got some receivers that really block well, too.
Yes, we
do. That I've seen Asher make some – I saw him pancake somebody from Powdersville the other night, though. But you've got some guys that really do a good job of blocking as a receiver position also.
Yeah, we do. We just have a lot of selfless guys that just, just love to play the game, and they love each other, and, they go to battle for each other. That was kind of our philosophy. We're putting Asher in the middle there as much as we run that little bubble screen, just getting a blow. Usually we're having to block an outside linebacker, and, Asher is an outside linebacker, so he fits that mold very well, and he just does a good job of setting that edge for us, and, we can move him down to tight end, and he can block down on that defensive end, and we can have our outside runs there as well. So, he's done a great job. All those guys have done a great job of contributing to the offense and just making it balanced. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I've told you before, that's just what we have to be, is balanced. And, everybody's doing a good job of doing their part.
And we're going to talk a little bit right now about two guys that were not our players of the week that could have very easily been. And then you just mentioned one right there, Asher. I've been saying for 2 weeks that it was coming soon to see him get in the end zone. And, man, he made a great run on the screen pass that he caught and was able to take that one to the house, and just showed his athleticism and speed. Boy, he's ran off and left everybody.
Yes, he may be the fastest guy we have. I mean, he can flat go, and we just got to continue to get the ball in his hands, and just see what he does with it. And he's going to have those plays where he's going to break free and he's going to score. I look for him to get in the end zone a lot more this year, and he's so valuable, and he's been in here 3 times for defensive player of the week. So he's so valuable on that side of the ball too that when he. Unfortunately, when he made that long run, we had to pull him off defense for a series, and it's just tough. Those guys are warriors, and they do a great job. But yeah, he had a great week for us.
And you basically were down to one running back pretty much for the game there. I believe the backup running back was out with an injury.
Yeah.
Didn't see him even dressed out there though. But lo and behold, Tyquan Booker with a huge game again, with well over 230 yards again.
Yeah.
And, man, that's kind of taken for granted, when you say, well, he's got another 200-yard game today, but he's done a great job of moving back and settling back into the running back position after playing some receiver. But he may not be the strongest, but I tell you what, he moves the pile, and he hits that hole fast.
He does.
And really gets through there, though. But just, talk a little bit about the game he had.
Well, just, he kind of knew he was, he was the guy. We could always move Reese back to running back and move him out to receiver if we need to, some moving parts, but, we didn't have to with him. He toted the load. He toted it 37 times for 238 yards, a couple touchdowns, a couple 2-point conversions. He had a great game. He just continues to be consistent with what he does. And like you said, he just runs hard. He trusts our guys up front, and he just hits the hole, and he does a really good job of making one guy miss. You know, he'll make that first guy miss, and then he'll get some extra yards on the carry. So he's very smart. He's learning you know, so much from last year, and he just continues to get better each week.
One thing I have been impressed with, and I guess I've got a good view up there watching, how sometimes he will wait and set his blockers up.
Yep.
He won't get ahead of the blocker that may be pulling for him to go through the hole or something. He will wait and give them time to make the block, and then he will explode and go through the hole. And it's hard to teach kids that when they give the ball, they're going to try to shoot through there, but he gives the lineman a chance to do their job before he does his.
Well, and that's one thing that he's improved so much on from this year to last year. You know, first year running back, still learning part of it. He's improved so much. Coach Burris and Coach Moore have worked so hard with drills on following that second puller and, you know, on the buck sweep or the counter whenever we got guys pulling there. And, you know, he's embraced that. He's coachable. He learns. And, you know, he's done a really good job with it this year.
Well, we had one other had a huge game too, was Braden Simpson. We kind of take him for granted. And I gave him a mulligan for his drop touchdown. It's funny because I asked him last week, I said, when you're really wide open like you were the week before on that, I said, do you get scared or nervous? He said, I'd rather catch one in traffic than be open. He said, yes, you do. So I give him a mulligan on that one, that I had to give Jameson a mulligan after the first touchdown this year when y'all turned the lights on, that he was busy watching to see what the lights were going to do and forgot to go hold for it with that. So everybody gets a mulligan with that. Well,
he had a good week for us.
He did.
Again, and blocking. You know, he's another guy that we've moved from the inside to the outside. So he's had to learn something brand new, and again, just a smart football player, you know, a baller.
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of our players of the week that we have there is Reese Wagerman. Is it Wagerman or
Wagerman?
Yep. Wager, okay. I'll go with that to get that pronunciation. I'm going to tell you what, pound for pound, that kid may be one of the toughest kids on your team.
Yeah.
Because he will get you, whether it's on one of the jet sweeps or whether he's running, that guy finds a way to get you 2 or 3 extra yards when he's been stopped. And he is not afraid to go in there in traffic and catch a ball, because he made 2 really tough catches in traffic, knowing he may get his head knocked off on that play, though. But that kid, to me, is pound for pound one of the toughest ones you got on the team.
Well, you know, his daddy cuts trees for a living. So Reese spends a lot of time doing that. He spends a lot of time moving things that are a lot heavier than he is. So, you know, he's learned how to use that leverage and learn how to use that lower body strength. And, you know, he works hard in the weight room. So he's a load. You know, he's low to the ground. You know, he's just a load. And he's another one that, you know, we have been playing all over the place. He started off at running back and still has to play some of that. And we flipped him from one position to another, and because of what he gives us. And, you know, so he's another one that's had to learn something new, and he's done a good job of doing that, adjusting.
Our other co-offensive player of the week was Jameson Dearberry. Had a really good game the week before, which he was playing with a high temperature over 102 earlier in the day there, though. He had over 400 total yards of offense and could have very easily been sitting here last week, but did come back and again with another really good game. And I made the comment during the game to Barry how valuable he's in of getting the ball to all your playmakers and making the right plays. Not only is he throwing the ball for good yardage and stuff like that, but he's getting the ball to the right people and he's executing the plays for you. And that's kind of, you know, what I think everybody he expected too at this point of his senior year to be playing like he's played the last 2 weeks.
Correct. He is managing the game well, you know, and I think a lot of that, you know, has to do with, you know, we're getting better up front, where he's not having to worry as much about pressure, and he's able to keep his eyes downfield and see what's going on. And when he can do that, he's very dangerous. You know, he gets the ball to guys and gets the ball out in a hurry, and you know, he's just, like I said, he just manages the game for us. So you know, just very proud of him. And you know, if we're doing our job, he would probably have a chance to sit at this table every week. So so he's really settling in, and like I said, these last 2 or 3 weeks he's had really good games for us. So we look forward to him to continue getting better each week.
And again, the sad thing about it is when you have everybody else with video game numbers right there, that everybody probably overlooks the guy who's actually running the show.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's why I was glad this week that I got to looking at it and thinking about it, that we were going to go with 2 this week with that, though. Yeah. We had the other 2 had already gotten it before.
I was going to make you pick them.
Yeah. Well, the other 2 that were in that, the other 3 in those categories are already won it at one time or another.
Yes.
So these were 2 I thought we needed to get them involved in what was going on and being players of the week, though. All right, defensively right now, what do you still want to see going on as far as what do you think the defense? I know there's several times, I know it's got to be frustrating for you because you're playing some young guys and inexperienced guys in the secondary on getting beat deep on the long balls right there. And I think one time you had the guy double teamed and he beat both of them deep. But yeah. I'm sure that y'all worked on that this week, or what can you do in those situations?
Yeah, just continue to get better. We had a special period today just working on deep balls, working on guys communicating, working on the different coverages when we're rolling, when we're moving. Just getting guys over top and getting them in better position, not getting caught up seeing the what goes on in the backfield, the eye candy we call it. So, that's like I said, Coach and them had a good period of that today, working on the deep ball and, again, just getting better. Like I said, a lot of these guys that play offense, turn around, play defense, and of course special teams. So, it's tough on them, but they're continuing to get better. They continue to work, and they've for the most part they've been pretty consistent for us, and but we just kind of like offensively, we just going to continue to move the pieces around, trying to find the right piece of the puzzle, and continue to get better with it.
Hard to believe that the season's half over now, that we're starting the second half here. We've got one more non-conference game, and then we get into the money games, though. So, right. What would you like to see finishing up non-conference play? What would you like to accomplish in this final game, tune-up game, before you get in conference play?
Well, continue to get guys in pieces of the puzzle. Continue to get guys healthy. That's a big thing. I think we're going to get 2 guys back this week, maybe 3 guys back this week. And what that'll do is that'll help us as far as giving some guys some breaks on either side of the ball, because all 3 of those guys are big contributors for us. So, I think that's the biggest thing. We just have to continue to get in shape. We have to continue to be getting healthy. And we have to continue to the guys that we're like I said, we're getting closer to getting those pieces of the puzzle together. Now just get them better.
How hard has it been, or will it be? You come off a big win, played great the way you did last week, put up probably some record numbers and all like that against the number 8 team in the state, and now you're going to a team that's 0-5, not to have a letdown going into the final non-conference game.
Well, I think our guys have done a really good job. We've had a really good 2 days of practice. I'm hoping that we're not thinking like that. We're certainly not discussing anything like that. We're practicing. This is still a non-conference game, and we're practicing for region play. That's what matters. We kind of told them today. We want to beat Blacksburg, but we're practicing for Woodruff. We're in region games. That's what we got to continue to get better for. So that's when it matters. Ultimately, that decides what our seed is in the playoffs and whether we're home or away. So we're not really focused on who we're playing. We're just focused on us getting better at what we're doing.
Okay, and I know it's an opportunity to finish non-conference play with a 500 record, which was some of those teams that you had on the schedule, that would be good to bounce back and finish that way and possibly go into conference play with a 2-game winning streak. Would give you some momentum going into that Woodruff game.
Yeah, and I hope this week, and some of the spurts we've had, our guys can see what they're capable of. That's the thing is, that's a very good team we beat this past week, and and our guys did a great job of playing that football game and playing a complete game, and getting punched in the mouth and fighting back, and that's just that's what good football teams do, and hopefully we've got a taste of that, and we kind of crave that each week.
Okay. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What should we expect or to see from Blacksburg? What are they going to try to do on offense and defense?
Offensively, I think their biggest goal is probably to keep the football. They're going to. We've seen, they've been in a lot of spread personnel. They've been in some two-back, been in some H-back stuff. They want to run the football. They move some guys around as well, and I think they moved the quarterback to running back. And we've been seeing it in a Wildcat set, where kind of a heavy package, which is something that we ran into against Union last year. So, we just have to be prepared for a little bit of everything. And I think their goal offensively is to keep our offense off the field as much as they can.
All right, defensively, what do you think we're going to see from them?
I think they're going to try to force negative yardage plays. Coach Bailey over there is defense coordinator. He's a Broome guy, graduate of Broome, and he's a 3-3 guy, and he's going to want to bring pressure. He's going to want to try to force negative yardage on first down and put you in second long situations. And for us, we just got to stay out of those situations. We got to be smart with our first down calls, and been able to get rid of the ball and be able to get us in a good place where that doesn't happen.
Keys to the game. What should we look for? What do the Centurions need to do to win this game?
Well, offensively, we need to score every possession. We need to, we get the ball, we need to get down the field, and we need to put it in the end zone. Defensively, again, just take away the big plays, not get beat over top, and, when we get a chance to tackle in space, tackle in space.
All righty. Well, we look forward to getting out down to Blacksburg. I hadn't been to Blacksburg in forever there. Coach Tony's going to have to show me the way. It's been that long. I think the last time I went to Blacksburg, I was coaching at Lincoln Middle School.
Oh, wow.
Before it became Dawkins.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since that, though. But we look forward to getting back on the field and see if we can keep these good things going.
Sounds great, Coach. Thank you.
Good luck on Friday. Look forward to talking to you after the game.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.